Kaiser M. Disciple here. What's happening, people? So I have been following the election for the last couple of days, and I just want to say, I make it abundantly clear that people are talking about an investigation into Emily Murphy's judgment on the elections. Now, I laid everything out on what you need, and I'm going to say categorically that Emily Murphy did the right thing, and she went to the states and she was following the certification of the states in this election because Donald Trump made such controversial statements challenging the elections. Emily Murphy was sensible enough to wait for the decision of the state certification where Joe Biden crosses the number of 270 electoral votes. She did the right thing. When the Michigan Board of Electors certified, the Michigan Board of the Canvas Board, sorry, the Michigan Canvas Board certified the elections in Michigan today, Emily Murphy was able to declare Joe Biden the president elect winner of the elections. Joe Biden had crossed 270 votes. I think he had 263 electoral votes before Michigan was added to the equation. And I think he has now, I'm not too sure how many votes he has. 200, did I say 263 electoral votes? I think that's what I said. So I think Michigan has 20, so he's now at 283 electoral votes with the certification. And I watched the entire meeting by the Board of Canvases on Michigan Live, M Live. And there are some concerns, and they need to audit some things, but by and large, excuse me, by and large, they certified the results as they were supposed to. So she did the right thing. You're going to see a lot of GOP representation, whether they're Congress people or senators, coming out now. And we've already seen them coming out the woodworks saying that a transition to power is necessary. And now, after certification, the states have spoken. So the states have spoken. So it's not the media. It's not some official somewhere. It's the actual voice of the people that must be respected. So there need not be an investigation into Mrs. Murphy. She did her job and she did it well. She may have been a Trump appointee. She did the right thing. And you're going to see the GOP representation come out and do the right thing as well. Donald Trump actually acknowledged Emily Murphy doing the right thing, which was really good to see. She did the right thing. So I am in support of what she did. I think that she did the right thing at this point in time. Everything else would have been too premature. And so the will of the people has spoken. There are some other states that are being contested, and there will be some audits afterwards as well. I believe Donald Trump has acknowledged Emily Murphy, and that's a very good thing. I do believe that America's democracy is strong. I do believe there should be tweaks to the American democracy, but I do believe what stands in the democratic process should stay. I am for the Electoral College. I believe it needs to be modified somewhat. Certain things need to be tweaked in the law concerning powers of certain individuals. But I do not think that they should disband the Electoral College. I think the Electoral College is what makes America America, and there are different levels to it to ensure checks and balances and safety. Um, I also believe that um, the officials who officiated this election show what I always believed all along, that most Americans are decent people. And regardless of whether they were Republican, whether they were Trump appointees, whether they were, um, you know, uh, Democrats, they all conducted this election in a fair way and showed to the world that democracy is a transparent process. And I'm proud to say that they did a great job state by state. And there are going to be some autopsies done and things change and things worked on, but I must say, democracy is held up in the face of an assault that was crazy. And Americans should be proud of the democratic process that they were a part of. Record voter turnout. And we hope the next election, whether it's statewide for the Congress and the Senate, would have record turnouts as well. That it shows the record turnouts will show confidence in the system. Now, here's another thing. I hope, because Zack Snyder speaks about us united, hashtag us united. I hope that we will be our brother's keeper. I think we should be beyond identity politics. I think the people who voted for Donald Trump, the people who voted for Joe Biden, the people who voted for Republican senators, congressmen, and governors, and so on. I believe this is based on your political stance, but as people, we should show love for one another. And I do believe there are common grounds through which all Americans share. And this is the beginning of what we need to do. We all people want best for ourselves and our families and the people we love. So at the end of the day, it comes down to that. There should be communication from the grassroots level all the way up to Washington, D.C., and reverse. All the way down from Washington, D.C., there should be conversation between the top and the bottom at all times. Senators and congressmen must understand they represent the districts that the congressional and senatorial districts that they represent. It's not their views that must be on display or their party's views, but their district's views that must be on display. And I hope that these people understand that in their representation. They must understand also the unique opportunity they have to form relationships with representatives of other districts and congressional and senatorial districts that they represent, and be able to have dialogue and communication with them to understand how their districts actually operate and the concerns and views of their districts. This is important because when relaying information back to the districts, the senatorial or congressional people should be able to communicate also the understanding of other districts outside of the districts that they represent, because the people within a Senate or within a given state generally deal with the concerns and affairs of the states. The communication only happens through the governors and probably the boards of the states with other states, but by and large, states are concerned with their own autonomous management. Whereas the congressmen and the senators, they're able to give a broader perspective and come back to the states, giving them a broader view of other states and how they conduct themselves. So it's very important for Congress and also for the Senate to act responsibly, understanding that each senator or each congressman is really a representative of their given state, but they have an understanding of how other states operate. I think that's where the perfect union needs to come into play, and not just partisan politics, which guys have been playing. Partisan politics and your own personal agenda is not supposed to be a part of senatorial and congressional behavior. It's about representation. It's not about your personal views. Your personal views may veer away from your representation, but to do your job, you must be representing where you are at. And while your party may have overarching themes and overarching ideas, the idea of you being in Congress or a senator is because you are bringing to the table the representation of your state, not your opinion, not your personal opinion. Now, you can have personal relationships with people that are devoid from, and your personal opinions about things with them. You can have those conversations as individuals one to another. But with respect to representation, remember you're representing a certain set of people who put you there. And the conversation you must have is with them first, the people who elected you. Your conversation should be always constant dialogue between them and yourself. So you know where you stand and where you should represent, what they agree with, what they don't agree with. So say you come to a personal decision and you inform your particular state or district or wherever constituency about information from other states and speaking about some sort of deal where you can compromise between what is going on in your state with things that are going on in other states. And, since they should have bills in legislature that is, what do I call it? It should be itemized and scheduled, that those things should have been scheduled. You should be able to go in advance to your state, speak about the issue. Then the states can view in on the debates that happen on that issue, and then you can go back to the states. And true, there are different ways to do it. Now we have Zoom and all of these internet things you can do. So you can communicate with the states. You don't have to go to the states particularly. Speak with the officials first, and then from there, let that translate down to the boards and the people that represent the people and to the grassroots level. It must trickle all the way down to grassroots, get that response back up to the senator or the congressman, and then they know how they're going to proceed, how they're going to vote. I always say that in Washington, D.C., the thing that really clouds the judgment of congressmen and of statesmen is the lobbyists. The lobbyists kind of fuck up everything. Okay, sorry about the F-bomb, but they kind of mess up everything. And these guys, they want to fill their pockets instead of represent where they represent. That's the one thing on the state level that's not really so much. We don't have lobbyists in the state to sway people, but in Washington D.C., there's lobbyists, and these lobbyists really mess up stuff. So it's very important because they're players as well. The companies are players in the process. So but they bring money to the table. They don't bring representation. They should be represented in some way, shape, or form for people to consider, but no, they bring money, and that's the problem. That's what corrupts the process in Washington D.C. And people got to remember, I represent a state. These people have an idea. So if you have a lobbyist, for example, coming in to lobby, what should have happened and what should happen is the senators and congressmen, when the lobbyists come with a certain idea to sway an idea, they should go back to their representation, hear what their representation thinks about it, clarify which lobbyist is lobbying so that the representation can know. If that lobbyist, for example, is a key ingredient in the community of that state and a key player, then it makes sense that the congressman or the senator would want that lobbyist to be promoted because it's in the best interest of the state. He may line his pockets in the process of doing so. I hope he doesn't. But if he does line his pockets, this is another thing that they're not doing in Washington, D.C. If a lobbyist is paying a fucking senator or congressman to vote for them, he's not paying the congressman or senator. He's paying the guy that represents the people, and therefore that money should not be pocketed by the senator or by the congressman, but it should be, at least a portion of it, should be distributed back down the line to the state. That's a problem. And that's where the corrupt dealings happen, and that's why senators can be bought and congressmen can be bought. And so it's very important for people to understand this. This is where regulation and laws and rules need to come into play. And these congressmen, these politicians need to stop playing games. You're a lawmaker. You're not just a fucking politician. And so the game playing is the thing. So this is where, again, there needs to be reform on lobbying. Of course, the lobbyists are going to try and resist that because they want more play, but they need to play by rules. And the rules need to be set out so that what we get is representation. We're not getting representation. Sometimes we're getting people's individual agendas, like Mitch McConnell, his individual agendas. Sometimes, what's her name? What's her name? The Democratic leader of the House. Sometimes we get her agenda. or a party's agenda, but we're not getting the representation of the people's agenda. The people come before the senators and the congressmen. And so, shout out to Leroy Kahn. He says the corruption will never stop. Well, it's got if for people to believe in the process, it better stop. It better stop. And these are the loopholes that allow for corruption. I'm pretty sure Zack Snyder would support me on what I'm saying. And I don't have a problem speaking about politics because I believe politics is about us. Shout out to Blind Fighter 9653. What's up? Yeah, my dude. It's about us and what we want. It's not about them and what they want. They represent us. And there should be a dialogue between it. What a senator's personal opinion is on something is irrelevant to what his state or constituency represents and wants from him. And I just want to make another very important point. Just because you were elected because your state or constituency elected you, we have to look at the margin at which you were elected. If you were not elected by a very wide margin, then you must also represent the people who voted for the other guy who lost. You got to represent your entire state because it's all about the people who participated in the voting process. You're representing the people who believed in the process and voted in the process. So you have to represent everybody. So the concerns and the issues and the points, you have to go back to the state and you have to go through the chain of command and you have to get the voters' will on certain things. You have to go back to them, get their will on certain things, and go back up to the top in Congress, knowing very soundly what you represent. The senators and the congressmen's commitment is to their voters first. It's to the people who believed in the process. It's not even to their party first. It's to their voters. Their party facilitated them, but the unique circumstances of each state demand that the congressman or senator stays within the bounds of what that state wants. So you can be a Republican, for example. I'll give you an example. You can be a Republican, but your state wants, energy, efficient energy, not coal energy, but efficient energy, because that state is thriving off of solar power and wind power, and so they want incentives for that. As a Republican, as much as they may have lobbyists for coal and oil. If your state is not behind you on that, you cannot vote in accordance with that, no matter what your party may advocate. And that's what I'm talking about. It's representation of the conditions that are specific to your state. It's not about representing your party. Sometimes your state goes over your party. Your state has these unique set of conditions where you cannot back what your party's backing, even though you ran on your party's ticket, because they're unique situations to your state. And we find this blend between Democrats and Republican values throughout America because that's how America is. And each state is unique. And so this is the important thing a lot of people just miss. With all due respect, Trump has lost and will go down as the worst president ever. Let me put this, I'm going to put some caveats on you, though. I admit, I appreciated how he conducted himself with the GSA when she, through principle and the right thing, allowed the states to determine the winner through certification. And Donald Trump supported that 100%, and I respect him for that, and I respect her for that. And you can say what you want about you can say what you want about Donald Trump. This much I will say about him. He opened the door. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to say it loud and clear. He opened the door for true political reform and discourse. He's done a lot of positive things by doing negative things. And America needed a shakeup. And probably by seeing the worst case scenario, that would help them shake up and motivate him. He brought out, because of Donald Trump, we got the highest voting turnout in the history of the United States of America because of Donald Trump. Yeah. Because of Donald Trump, people are thinking about addressing in a serious way systemic racism in America. He shook the boat. Because of Donald Trump, the swamp actually has been seen as a swamp. He actually, I would say he sort of enhanced the swamp-like tendencies so people could see it's a swamp. He actually is a blessing in disguise because now politics cannot proceed like how it used to. This is not a return to the old ways of doing things. You will see that very soon. That's thanks to Donald Trump. So you could say he was the worst president in the United States. You could say all you want to say about the man. But if he never came, praise God, if he never came, it would have been business as usual. And black people would have still been killed in the streets, and there wouldn't be talk about police reform and even the steps being taken in the different states. I see it on the ground level, have been reform of police. Even under Donald Trump, they're reforming it right now as we speak. And this is amazing because as inflammatory as Donald Trump has been, he has forced a change. He has made Americans make up their mind. What is more important? Humanity or me just being in my little bubble saying nothing? People are speaking out. Another very good thing, because I love Zack Snyder. You know, he's a guy I love a lot. I love him like a brother, even though I never met him. Zack Snyder did the same thing. But I don't consider Zack Snyder Donald Trump. But nonetheless, Zack Snyder did the same thing. You know what Donald Trump did again? And I'm going to show you how this guy did good. Intentionally or not intentionally, this guy did good for the country and for the world. Donald Trump allowed a lot of our conspiracy theories to be put to the test. He entertained our conspiracy theories. Donald Trump's a guy who listened to the voice of the people and their concerns, and he vocalized it. He vocalized it. Lyricon says Zack Snyder hates Trump. Zack Snyder doesn't hate anybody. That's one thing about Zack Snyder. You would never see Zack Snyder speaking about hating people. He doesn't do that. He's a loving guy. He may not agree with Donald Trump, and he did assist in, from Wisconsin, he put out an ad where, the Wisconsin people didn't benefit from Trump and they're going to vote for Biden. And right now in Wisconsin, they're working on certification to have Joe Biden certified from the state, but there are challenges, and it's taking them a little bit more time because the Trump pollsters are contesting everything that they do, and that's good. It's good because you have to rigorously test the system, and Donald Trump is doing that. Say what you want, he's doing that, and the system is coming up. The democratic process is coming up and shining, thanks to Donald Trump. The people who voted for Donald Trump, these people were voting for Donald Trump because they wanted change. They weren't just racist people. They wanted something different out of Washington, D.C. They didn't like these gridlocks and these filibusters and these political games these men were playing with their representation. They weren't, the politicians weren't representing them in the highest place of the land. And they were saddened by it, and they were disturbed by it, and they wanted change. And if Barack Obama couldn't bring that change, maybe Donald Trump could. And to some degree, he did. in some ways for the very worst, and in other ways for the better. And so we must look at it in a balanced perspective. Yes, Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. Yes, he's an autocrat. Yes, he's a scary dude in the ideas that he has. And yes, this thing is not over yet, but in many ways it is. It's done. The will of the people has spoken. It's done. And while Zack Snyder voted for Joe Biden, more than likely, as did many, many people, I want to say that I want the Trump supporters and people who voted for Donald Trump to know you did not do anything that's constitutionally wrong. You voted for who you voted for, and I understand you. I understand why you did what you did. I get it. I can't criminalize you for that. You weren't wrong to think that way because I think that way sometimes too. It's about the truth. But at what cost do we allow unilateral? This is the question in BVS. How far do we let one man exert his power without it being checked? Accountability. That was the issue with Superman and BVS. What did Superman do though? He went to that tribunal. He humbled himself and he attended it. To the congressional hearing, he submitted himself so that he could be reviewed and analyzed, and he could align himself with the process that these leaders wanted him to align with and be a servant of it because he understood that he was there to serve. So, these people in the highest courts of the land are here to serve and represent us. We have a voice and we must never be silent. And it's interesting seeing all these different people with all these different perspectives, whether you think they're heinous or not, having a voice. That's what Donald Trump did. People who would not normally speak out started speaking out, and the voices were heard. And I can't help but think of Zack Snyder and how the Snyder Cut movement happened. How people who would usually be quiet wouldn't say nothing. They had a voice. All of America started speaking. Everybody from there, every little corner. And I hope the dialogue now, not just having a voice, now we need dialogue. People who have voices, hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me. Now we need to hear each other. Now we need to have conversations. Now we need to see different people from different backgrounds that come from different places, though we all want a good life for ourselves, though we all want a good life for our families, though we all want a good life for our friends. All of us, I don't care what background you come from. We need to understand each other. That's step 2. And that's what Justice League is going to show us. Justice League is going to show us how people from diverse backgrounds who have unlimited potential, what you call superheroes, how they can dialogue with one another, how they're going to get along, how are they going to mesh together, us united. How are we going to do that? It's almost prophetic. His movies just like his movies are so cool because it's like literally capturing the moment. That's why I love Zach. I love him. I know he's a spiritual guy. No matter how much he talks, I know he's a spiritual guy. I know where he came from. I know his origins. He's a good guy. And I believe Zach is not a Republican or a Democrat. I believe he espouses both values to some degree. I believe he's not a great lover of corporate involvement in individual states. I don't think he's all about federal oversight only. But I also believe he's not just about autonomous, independent state isolationism. He's in between. We need each other. Therefore, we must help each other. That's what Justice League is about. That's what this movie's all about. When you watch it, it's not just entertainment, it's describing and even advising how we can move forward. That's what I love about Zack Snyder. And that's what I love about how he digs into mythology. See, George Lucas is a similar mindset to Zack Snyder. He did not want Hollywood to send their messages through his music. He didn't want a CIA led agenda. He didn't want to program the people what to think. He wanted the people to choose how they liked his movie, his mythology, his tale. Zack Snyder took it to another level. He wants you to ponder. He wants you to reflect. He wants you to use your power of choice. If you don't like the movie, that's your choice. If you like the movie, that's your choice. He's not there to manipulate your feelings and emotions, and therefore, by that, send a command of how to think and reason. He's there to let you come to the conclusion yourself. Sucker punch. You have the power. No matter how limited it seems, you have the power. That was Sucker Punch. Man of Steel. As great as your abilities and potential is in each and every one of us, we have a process to unlock it. It's a journey called the hero's journey. This is what Zack Snyder is speaking about. When you look at his t-shirt, all the gods and all the hells are within you. That's what it means. This is about you. Zack Snyder didn't do these films for himself, even though he says, I'm satisfied with the film for myself. This is about you. This is about you unlocking your potential to do good in this world. That's why Superman is my icon. I have not changed him. It's not Batman. It's not Wonder Woman. It's not the Flash. It's not Cyborg. It's Superman. Because Superman represents that ideal, which Zack Snyder spoke so eloquently in Man of Steel and David Goyer penned so righteously. Hope is the potential of every individual to be a force for good. It's a potential. So, at the end of the day, take that now, you out there, into your politics. And what is the politics? True politics is a relationship you have with people around you and your community. It always comes down to a relationship you have. Shout out to Blind Fighter. Shout out of Leroy Kong. Leroy Kong has taken a stance and he's hardened on that stance. So he says Zack Snyder hates Trump, which he doesn't. He voted against Trump. That may be so. That doesn't mean he hates him. Leroy Kong says, I think Trump didn't do a good job. he should go. Again, that's just a stance you're taking, which I appreciate. I understand where you're coming from. You did not like how he represented America, etc. So I get to where you're coming from. The Blind Fighter says Zack Snyder has cool. Leroy Kong says the Justice League wouldn't approve of Trump. Again, that is a hardened stance, which I understand where you're coming from. I'm not here to cast. Donald Trump is going to get all of that already. I'm not here to judge Donald Trump like that. I am here to speak on things that can bind people together. I'm not interested in dividing people right now and living in a certain spirit of me versus them. I'm not interested in that. I'm here to highlight certain positive things that you can capture and move forward with. Motifs. Like Zack Snyder, I'm past people and I'm focused on ideals, values, and motifs. This is what Zack Snyder tries to share with us when he does his movies. So the idea was, can we change how Washington does business? Hence Barack Obama. Hence Donald Trump. Now Joe Biden. The electorate is trying to teach us that we as people are trying to find our power beyond just the people who lead us. We are trying to find a voice as people beyond the people who are supposed to represent us. I want you to understand this powerful notion of how countries are driven. It is not a one-way street. It is not a place where we elect a leader and then you just go lead. No, it cannot work. You must always be a part of the process. Once upon a time, there was something called civics. In my country, we actually have Calypsonians who will comment on the government and how their performance is to give the government feedback on how things are going in the pulse of the country. That is something in between elections. You as a citizen, you as a person, have more responsibility than you think and more power than you think. I am going to suggest to you that Barack Obama's rise and his power and Donald Trump's rise and his power show us that we as individuals have no limits as to the potential to which we can rise, even in the face of our flaws. I want you to understand a colored man became president of the United States. How many of you guys believe that would ever be possible in your lifetime? Secondly, a man who had mental disorders and so many flaws became the president of the United States. That is empowering. Stop focusing only and solely on the negative. Of course, the negative is something that you should focus on as a caveat, but please don't focus on that. There are things that you can take that can carry to the next level, that can inspire you. If Donald Trump could be president of the United States, you can be whatever you want to be in this life. That's what it's saying. You're not using your full potential. You're not using your power. Each of us has powers like the greatest superheroes you ever thought of. The potential to do good is huge. But we undervalue that potential and we cut it short because we focus on things that divide us. We focus on isolationism. It's important to be an individual, but you cannot isolate yourself from other people. And we do it repeatedly instead of looking for points of which we can unite. Hence, us united. As much as there are legal consequences to things, and there are consequences to all things, and there must be accountability, we must not demonize and villainize people if we don't even understand them. That is where we keep on drawing a mark in the sand and we want to just gun at this guy because he's easy to poke, because he's easy to gun down. We, as the Snyder Cut movement, know this better than others. We have been misunderstood. We and Zack Snyder have been targets and victimized by other people. We should not, therefore, carry on that attitude with other people that we do not understand. We have to rise. We have to do better. According to Batman at the end of Batman v Superman, we kill, we steal, we lie. But we got to do better. We have to. We will. And that, my friends, is where I'm going to stop tonight. I wanted to talk politics, but I wanted to talk politics not in terms of party, not in terms of personality, in terms of what we can do, in terms of what we have the potential to do. This is a moment where we have been heard. We have a say. And that goes for those who voted for Trump and those who voted for Biden. It's not just the people who voted for Biden. We had record turnout numbers and tremendous numbers for Trump and tremendous numbers for Biden. People bought into the process because they thought it was very important to be a part of that process, because they thought the stakes were high for them. And everyone was encouraged to vote. It was the best thing ever. Democracy on its greatest splendor in the face of a threat to it. Love cannot be love if it is so beautiful, because there was only pure hate and sorrow around him. And that's what allowed his love to shine. As Zack Snyder would tell you in one of his videos, you cannot have courage without fear. Isn't that what Amy Adams said in the little 1-minute clip with Superman and all the Justice League members? If you don't know fear, how can you have courage? If you have not experienced hate, how can you appreciate love? So, because Donald Trump was the catalyst to push Americans to go beyond what they will normally do, he's done a load of good for democracy. And where other people are talking about, oh, democracy, I listen to the media sometimes say some really dumbass things. The media is saying, oh, democracy's been jeopardized and blah, blah. No, it hasn't. It stood up to the test. And both Republicans and Democrats should be proud to say that our democracy still stands. And it's because of you, the people. It's because of you. You don't get it. You are the most important part of the equation. It's always been about you. It's always been about you. And you keep on dodging some of those traps and pitfalls that will annihilate the human race. You are doing that. It's almost a figure of the Justice League dealing with a threat to the world. You don't even realize it, but you are the first line of defense. They have to listen to you to know how far they can go. The only reason we got the movie that Zack Snyder had is because Warner Brothers listened to us. It's our voices. It wasn't Zack's voice. It was our voices that made it happen. Similarly, it applies to countries. To countries. To countries. They can't do anything if you do not accept it. If you stand up for principle, they cannot act otherwise. They can act for a moment, but they're going to be accountable to you if you do it in volume. If you universally say, no, we're not accepting that, they cannot move forward. You have to understand your power. You have immense power. I keep on saying it over and over, especially in this age with the internet and feedback. But you don't use it. You constantly feel you are powerless. So your voice must be heard. And now dialogue between voices need to be heard. I'll catch you guys later. I'm Christ I am disciple. I hope you guys have a great day. And I want to share a very brief piece of scripture, even though I'm not probably the guy most most righteous to share it. I'm going to share it anyway. And I'm trying to remember where it's found. I can't remember where it's found, but see, what people need is love in their hearts. That's what will change everything. Being able to feel somebody else's heart, feel what the core of what they're really saying. That they say a lot of things. People say a lot of things, and they circle around the issue. But the real issue, you gotta listen to hear that. You gotta listen to hear what they feel. You gotta listen to hear the pulse of what they're really saying. This is for the religious folk out there. Okay. All right. This is a very powerful statement. It's an eternal statement, and it's an eternal truth. Whether you believe in God or not is irrelevant. Whether you're an atheist or not is irrelevant. This principle stands true regardless. Love never fails. Prophecies will cease. They will fail. Languages and tongues will cease. They will fail. Knowledge shall vanish away. Because we only know things with a limited amount of information. And so we can only speak on the limited information we have. But what is perfect, when that comes to be, that which is in part shall be done away with. That's a deep, deep statement that goes beyond the cosmos and our understanding of space and time and several other things. But I can guarantee you this: the earth will not last forever. The earth will be destroyed. How do we know this? Looking at other solar systems, the suns of the solar systems, they expand, they become red suns. The heat scourges the planetary bodies that circle them. So before the sun even explodes or becomes a supernova or implodes, becomes a black hole, all life on Earth will be utterly destroyed by fire. This inevitably will happen. So the Earth is not going to last forever. It'll take a while, but that's for sure fact. And that's scientific. And the Bible also says the same thing. So again, whether you believe as a Christian in God or not, or any religion, it's irrelevant to the truth. So here's the thing. What I just told you is an eternal statement. A lot of people try to categorize what I just said, but truly, if you exhibit the attributes of putting yourself in another person's situation and shoes, you're listening to put yourself in that person's situation and shoes. And if you have empathy for another person, you will exhibit what we call love. You do it for your family members, you do it for people you closely like. You'll go the extra mile for them. When your love for humanity and people and animals and creation and things becomes greater than your love for yourself and your love for your family, because it's a product of that, you will now have something eternal. It will carry on from you to other people. The blind fighter says Superman will always be iconic. That is true. Leroy Kong says, again, great live. Thank you very much, sir. So, what I'm trying to tell you guys is Zack Snyder focuses on some very invisible things, but they're real. Your love and care for your family is real. Your love and care or concern for your country is real. Now, more than ever, you need to open your heart to other people. Just like when a disaster happens, people open their hearts to people. Do not wait for a disaster to happen to open your hearts to other people and reach out to them. People are more than the party that they voted for. People are more than the actions that they may take or the behavior that they may have. To get to know somebody, you have to know their heart. What ticks, what makes them move. Even the worst of people, and there are some pretty depraved people, actually have ideals in their heart to have something good happen for them or for other people, as depraved and as crazy as they are. But remember, what we call the worst of us is still a reflection of us. And these people function just like we function, just in a very skewed way. Once you understand that, you are going to show love and understand the love that these people have and tap into that to be able to communicate with them. Leroy Kong says Trump has no heart. Well, I'm pretty sure he has heart for himself. I'm sure he loves himself. That's the first thing I'm pretty sure about. Apparently, he has love for Ivanka and for his wife. And I do believe he has invested love in his children as well. So, like any other person on the planet, they want the best for themselves and the best for their families. Right? He's just like everybody else. So, what I'm trying to say is, yes, he has done some reprehensible things. He's abused his power, he's abused his authority. The courts will deal with him when he leaves. He's going to do some probably more crazy stuff before he leaves office, or not. We never know. But at the end of the day, he's a human being just like you and me. And he wants the same things we all want. Good things to happen to us, people to validate us, and good things to happen to his family. Because I'm pretty sure he cares about them in his own way. He may not express it the way how you and I would express it, but in his own way, he cares about his family. So he's just like any other human being on the planet when he put it that basic. And that's important to remember. We're not here, even though people must, um, obviously, because they work so hard for it, they must go through the consequences of their actions. That doesn't mean we need to hate Donald Trump. I know some people say fuck Donald Trump, excuse my French, but they don't mean it personally. They just mean his policies and the way how he's conducting himself. And this is something you need to understand. We must be able to separate the heinous acts a person does from other things that they may do. That's crazy, but as a Christian, it's something that really makes sense. Even if you don't believe in Christ or God, it makes sense to separate an action of a person from other things that they do or other actions that they do. That will go a long way to healing the racial divide and the racist divide within a country, both on the end of the victims of this racism and on the end of the racists themselves. And a great example of that is South Africa, that we can look at. I'm not saying that the incidences and the atrocities should be forgotten. What I'm trying to say is sometimes in healing, we need to put aside certain things for the moment and address them later. So I hope that what I've said is of benefit to people because I live in the real world. We live in the real world. We can go to make believe with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and you guys know I love Zack Snyder's Justice League, but it's for these reasons. It's for the real world reasons I love his movies. It's not some sort of Kool-Aid and, for me, propaganda that is spread through movies about how our heroes should be when they're not like that. Real life isn't like that. And the one thing I love about Zack Snyder's movies, and I'll say it over and over again, is to me, he captures some of the essence, not only of what real life is, but he even puts in little suggestions, in my opinion, of how we can actually effectively enact positive things in life. They are all suggestions. We don't have to take it. He's not Hollywood. And I am thankful that Warner Brothers, um, the cooperation of Warner Brothers, not the picture company, and HBO Max are giving him and affording him the opportunity to not just execute an intellectual exercise, but to me, a spiritual lesson that needs to be taught to people in how to love each other, accept each other, and work together in spite of tremendous differences between you. That's why I think this Justice League movie is going to be different to the theatrical version in tremendous ways. Because the challenge will be to see how these different people from different walks of life don't, in Hollywood style, come together and somehow mesh. No, no, no. They're not going to have that baloney. But in real life situations, still have conflict in spite of their unity. I am hoping that at the end of their unity, they still have some conflict going on. Because in the real world, disagreements still linger. We strive for a more perfect union. Doesn't mean we get there all the time. I'll catch you guys later. Christ I am disciple. I'll be with you guys hopefully another time. I got a couple of videos I wanted to put out, but no, I think I'll hold back on them for the moment. But I'll catch you guys later. Don't worry. This is Christ I Am Disciple. I'm also What You Need. I do boxing. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.